Jason Statham, known for his tough guy roles in blockbuster action films, carved a niche for himself in Hollywood with his charismatic screen presence and undeniable talent. From breakout performances in the Transporter series to adrenaline-pumping spectacles like Fast and Furious, Statham has become one of the highest-paid actors in the industry, amassing a fortune that places him among the elite. His sharp wit and rugged good looks have not only charmed audiences worldwide, but also brought with them a complicated dynamic with those closest to him. As his star continues to rise, the allure of his wealth becomes a focal point for long-lost relatives and aggressive opportunists who see dollar signs instead of family ties. Unbeknownst to Jason, the whispers of envy and resentment have grown louder among his extended family, who feel overshadowed by his success. With each new film release, not only does Statham's bank account grow, but so do the fractures within his family, setting the stage for a dark and twisted turn of events that will blur the lines between loyalty and greed. The tension within Jason Statham's family reached a boiling point during an unexpected reunion held at a picturesque countryside estate. The gathering, meant to celebrate the holiday season, was infused with a sense of unease as relatives who hadn't seen each other in years exchanged forced pleasantries. The opulence of the venue only served to amplify the disparities among them, some basking in luxury while others struggled to make ends meet. As guests mingled, whispers filled the air about Jason's skyrocketing career. Old grievances resurfaced, with accusations of favoritism and neglect flying between siblings and cousins. The atmosphere grew heavy with unspoken resentments, particularly from those who felt overlooked or forgotten by Jason's newfound fame. Seated at the head of the table, Jason was oblivious to the brewing storm around him, happily recounting tales from his latest film shoot. However, behind polite smiles and laughter lurked jealousy, as relatives exchanged glances that hinted at ulterior motives. Little did he know that this seemingly innocent gathering would serve as the backdrop for a plot that would change his life forever. Amidst the holiday festivities, whispers of conspiracy began to circulate among Jason's discontented relatives. As the evening wore on and the wine flowed, a clandestine meeting took place in a dimly lit corner of the estate. A small group of Jason's cousins, each feeling entitled to a slice of his fortune, strategized about how they could leverage his wealth for their gain. They discussed exploiting the very affection and trust Jason had for his family, planning to abduct him during his next visit home. The eldest cousin, once a promising actor himself, but now filled with bitterness over his own failures, became the ringleader. He painted a vivid picture of how a temporary kidnapping could pressure Jason into sharing his wealth, or even convincing him to fund their lavish dreams. Fueled by jealousy and greed, they plotted to create a plausible scenario where they could control Jason without arousing suspicion. As laughter and celebration echoed through the estate, the conspirators felt an intoxicating thrill at the thought of what they might achieve, completely unaware that their scheme was already spiraling toward inevitable disaster. The evening unfolded with laughter and cheer, masking the sinister intentions lurking just beneath the surface. As Jason Statham wandered outside for some fresh air, admiring the starlit sky, the moment arrived for his cousins to execute their plan. They sprang into action, swiftly surrounding him in the quiet darkness, their expressions a mix of eagerness and desperation. Before he could register what was happening, Jason found himself restrained and pulled toward a waiting van. His instincts kicked in. Years of fight choreography and films flooded his mind, but the element of surprise had left him vulnerable. In the chaos, he shouted for help, but the laughter from inside the estate drowned him out. The ringleader's voice echoed commands as they shoved Jason into the van, panic rising within him as he realized his family had turned into captors. As they sped away from the estate, adrenaline coursed through Jason's veins. Just moments ago, he had been celebrating with loved ones. Now, he was caught in a whirlwind of betrayal and fear, setting off a chain reaction that would lead to a desperate fight for freedom. Once inside the van, Jason Statham's initial shock quickly morphed into a steely resolve. The confines of the vehicle felt like a prison, but his mind raced as he assessed his surroundings. His cousins, consumed by a misguided sense of entitlement, had underestimated him. As they drove down a winding road, laughter echoed from the front seat. masking their ignorance of the storm brewing within Jason. He recalled countless rehearsals for high-stakes action sequences and needed to channel that energy now. With sharp focus, he began testing his restraints. The binding was tight, but not unyielding. He felt every fiber of the rope as he methodically searched for an opportunity to break free. Using the momentum of the van's bumps and turns to his advantage, he shifted his body subtly, inching closer to freedom. In a split second, as they hit a particularly rough patch of road, Jason made his move that he summoned all his strength and twisted himself around, catching his captors off guard. With quick thinking and the instincts honed from years on screen, he launched an unexpected counterattack, turning the tide in this real-life battle against betrayal. As Jason fought to regain control, his cousins quickly shifted tactics, resorting to psychological manipulation to undermine his confidence. They taunted him with veiled threats, reminding him of the family ties that once bonded them, and casting doubt on his ability to escape. "You think you can outsmart us, Jason?" the ringleader sneered, emphasizing the betrayal of blood over loyalty. In the cramped confines of the van, they played mind games designed to exploit his vulnerabilities. They recounted stories of past family gatherings where he had been the golden child, contrasting it with their struggles and perceived neglect. Their words dripped with bitterness, aimed at instilling guilt and fear, reminding him that they were capable of anything when pushed too far. Each taunt felt like a dagger, piercing through his resolve as they attempted to fracture his spirit. Yet, rather than succumbing to despair, Jason's anger transformed into a fierce determination that he realized that their psychological tactics could not break him. Instead, they would fuel his fight for freedom. With renewed vigor, he planned not just an escape, but a way to confront them head-on, reclaiming both his agency and dignity. Back at the estate, concern quickly mounted as Jason's absence became apparent. His closest friends, aware of his usual punctuality and charisma, sensed something was amiss. They rallied together, determined to find him, reaching out to the local police for assistance. Among them was his longtime friend Mark, a former police officer turned filmmaker, whose instincts kicked in as he organized the search. Efforts to the police station, Officer Claire Bennett, a seasoned detective with a reputation for solving complex cases, took charge of the investigation. She quickly assessed the situation, recognizing that a high-profile figure like Jason could be in danger. Partnered with Mark, she began gathering clues, interviewing family members, and piecing together the events leading up to Jason's disappearance. Meanwhile, Jason's publicist, Sophia, alarmed by his silence, hired a private investigator named Jack Thompson, known for his resourcefulness and street smarts. Jack brought a fresh perspective to the search, prompting inquiries about recent family tensions and uncovering secrets that hinted at the motive behind Jason's abduction. Together, this unlikely team launched a multifaceted search against the ticking clock, determined to bring Jason back safely. As the search for Jason Statham intensified, the investigation became a labyrinth of twists and turns, filled with both promising leads and misleading red herrings. Officer Claire Bennett and Mark followed their first clue, a suspicious vehicle sighted near the estate on the night of Jason's abduction. However, when they traced it to a nearby gas station, they discovered it belonged to a family friend who had simply stopped for fuel. Meanwhile, Jack Thompson pursued rumors circulating among local gossipers about a cousin spotted in town buying supplies, which led them to a rundown motel. After an anxious stakeout, they discovered it was just another relative attending a different holiday gathering, further muddying the waters. Amidst these challenges, Sophia received an anonymous tip suggesting that Jason had been seen at a remote cabin in the woods, prompting hope for a breakthrough. However, upon arrival, the team found only remnants of a recent party, balloons and leftover food, indicating that it had been used by someone else entirely. With each misstep, the urgency escalated. Time was running out, and they knew Jason could be in grave danger. Amid the chaos of his captivity, Jason Statham discovered an unexpected ally in his cousin, Lily, who had been reluctantly caught up in the scheme. Unlike the others, she harbored a sense of guilt and unease about their actions, often glancing at Jason with a mixture of fear and compassion. Realizing that Lily's conscience could be his way out, Jason strategically engaged her in conversation, Appealing to her better nature, he recounted shared childhood memories, the moments of laughter and love that had once defined their family before jealousy clouded their bonds. Slowly, he began to break through to her, reminding her of the man he genuinely was. Not just the wealthy celebrity they envied. Lily's internal struggle became evident as she hesitated when given orders to guard Jason more closely. This shift created a crack in the captors' resolve. Capitalizing on their growing disconnect, Jason subtly encouraged Lily to help him devise an escape plan that played on her loyalty and fond memories. They plotted together in hushed tones. An alliance was forged that would alter the dynamics of power within the van, setting the stage for a dramatic turn in their tumultuous circumstances. With the alliance between Jason and Lily growing stronger, a pivotal moment arrived when Jason decided it was time to put their plan into action. As they sat in the cramped confines of the van, he realized that the captors had become complacent, lulled into a false sense of security. This was his chance to turn the tables. Jason began feigning defeat, allowing himself to appear vulnerable, while secretly gauging the reactions of his cousins. Their arrogance grew when they believed they had him under control, leading them to relax their guard. During a particularly bumpy stretch of road, Jason initiated the next phase of his plan. He encouraged Lily to create a distraction, suggesting she knock over a bag of supplies they had stashed in the back. When the noise erupted, drawing the attention of the captors, Jason seized the moment. With his heart racing and adrenaline surging, he launched himself toward the front seat, catching his cousins off guard in a swift and calculated maneuver. He regained control of the situation, setting the wheels in motion for his escape and shattering their confidence in one decisive moment. With adrenaline pumping through his veins, Jason confronted his cousins, who had once been allies but were now overwhelmed by greed. As they regrouped in the van, the atmosphere thickened with tension. Jason's voice cut through the air. "You think this betrayal is justified? Do you really believe I owe you anything?" His words hung heavy as his cousins exchanged nervous glances. The facade of family loyalty cracked under the weight of their actions. Confronted by Jason's determination and the calculation in his eyes, their confidence began to waver. "You've taken things too far," he continued, pressing them to reflect on their choices. Suddenly, one of his cousins lunged at him, sparking a fierce physical struggle that erupted inside the cramped van. The confined space amplified every punch and shove, while Lily watched in horror, yet knew this was a necessary confrontation. As Jason fought, he also unleashed pent-up emotions of betrayal and disappointment, reminding them that they were family once, connected by love rather than greed. This blend of physical conflict and emotional honesty laid bare the divisions amongst them, igniting a deeper realization of what their actions had cost them all. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Jason emerged from the van, shaken but resolute. The chaos had drawn attention, and soon, the police arrived on the scene, alerted by a concerned passerby who had witnessed the struggle. Officer Claire Bennett, alongside Mark and Jack, quickly assessed the situation and took control, leading to the apprehension of Jason's cousins. They were taken into custody. Emotions ran high. Jason faced his family members one last time, demanding accountability for their actions. His cousins stood in stunned silence, grappling with the reality of their choices as they were led away in handcuffs. The weight of their betrayal sank in. They had sacrificed familial bonds for greed. In the days that followed, Jason reflected on the ordeal and the fractures within his family. He chose to focus on healing rather than revenge, vowing to rebuild relationships with those who remained loyal. Meanwhile, Lily expressed remorse for her role and pledged to make amends. With his family dynamic forever altered, Jason emerged stronger and more determined to protect his wealth and his heart from those who would seek to exploit it again. In the wake of his harrowing ordeal, Jason Statham found himself reflecting deeply on the complex interplay between family loyalty and wealth. The abduction had illuminated stark truths about how financial success could warp relationships, turning once supportive relatives into adversaries motivated by envy and greed. As he slowly came to terms with the betrayal, he recognized that true loyalty is forged not from blood ties alone, but through mutual respect and shared values. Jason's experience taught him invaluable lessons about trust, He realized that those who truly cared for him would stand by him regardless of his fortunes. Determined to mend the frayed bonds with the family members who remained loyal, he made a conscious effort to nurture those relationships, placing more value on emotional connections than on material wealth. Lily's remorse resonated with him, strengthening their bond as she committed to rebuilding her own sense of integrity. Together, they faced the future wiser and more cautious. Jason resolved to protect not only his financial assets, but also his emotional well-being, understanding that wealth should empower, not corrupt. Familial love. As Jason Statham reflected on his harrowing experience, he recognized the profound lessons learned about trust, loyalty, and the complexities of family dynamics intertwined with wealth. The ordeal had not only tested his resolve, but also reshaped his perspective on who truly mattered in his life. That he emerged with a clearer understanding that while riches can attract greed, true value lies in genuine connections with those who support him unconditionally. Rebuilding relationships became paramount, and Jason was determined to foster a tighter bond with loyal family members, promoting unity over discord within his circle. That he understood that strength could be found not just in financial success, but in nurturing love and understanding. As he looked ahead, Jason felt invigorated by the potential for new adventures beyond the shadows of betrayal. His resilience ignited a desire to embark on exciting film projects that would challenge him as an actor and allow him to channel his experiences into powerful performances. With a newfound clarity and purpose, he resolved to embrace the next chapter of his life, one filled with thrilling action and deeper connections, far removed from the turmoil of family drama.